Imagine being extremely wealthy, but keeping it a secret. Hi everyone, Ken here. Welcome to This House. Today we are exploring the mansion of a man who could afford the entire world, but decided instead to spend his money on people in need. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House. Robert S. Brewster was born into old money. His ancestors had traveled to the New World aboard the Mayflower and were quick to capitalize on industry. His father, Benjamin Brewster, was the vice president of the Rock Island and Pacific Railway Company and left him a fortune. Robert sat on various boards for several corporations and banks, which provided him with nearly effortless income. With so much free time, he devoted his life to charitable organizations, including churches, hospitals, and most notably, the Young Men's Christian Association, more commonly referred to as the YMCA. He married Mabel Tremaine in 1904. Robert and Mabel had much in common. She preferred charitable work over socializing. The young couple evaded the spotlight together, doing good for the community behind the scenes instead of boasting about it in the newspaper columns. They would take this into consideration when designing their dream house. The Brewsters hired architect William Delano to create for them a more humble mansion. They insisted that it not draw attention nor boast exuberant flair. When interviewed about the home, Delano said about the house, "The problem was to build a simple and dignified home, where one could live comfortably." Located at 70th and Park, the house rose 5 stories. It was considerably more plain than the neighboring homes, but offered a more subdued version of Italian Renaissance Revival styling. The first level of the home, though set in stone blocks, was remarkably simple, with only a scrolled keystone to call attention to the arched entry. Above the front door, on the facade of the second floor, was a carved cartouche, symmetrically placed between windows with elaborate moldings. The facade of the third floor contained simpler window treatments, with the fourth floor containing none. A stone cornice seemed to cap off the home, but the fifth floor dormer windows subtly protruded from the low-pitched roof, barely noticeable from the street. Talking about the interior of the home, Delano said, "The program called for a house to be used for entertaining, but entertaining on a small scale. It was to be a house for dinners primarily, and not for dances and large gatherings." The first floor had more modest proportions than many homes from the era, with 12.5-foot ceilings. The walls of the entrance hall were clad in sandstone and would have had a buttery hue. The floors were checkered with alternating black and white marble tiles. On one side of the entrance hall, you would have found the dining room, with a marble fireplace, flat ceilings, and minimal millwork. On the other side of the entrance hall was the reception room, with a simple fireplace, humble millwork, and comfortable seats for guests. Taking the stairs up to the second floor would bring you to a large hall, 30 feet by 18 feet, which was used more as a living room and paneled in oak. The ceilings here were 15 feet tall and had large exposed oak beams running the width of the room. Also on this floor was the library. With large double doors, built-in bookcases, and a more pronounced hearth, this room was functional and elegant, set against panels crafted from French walnut. Sitting across the hall from the library was a simple but distinguished drawing room from which the Brewsters would entertain their small handful of guests. According to Delano, the rest of the house was comprised of ordinary bedrooms, sitting rooms, and bathrooms for the family. The house was exactly what the Brewsters had asked for. It was large enough for their family without being ostentatious. It was devoid of ornamentation and yet still had a quiet dignity about it. They were able to host charitable events without their home seeming to mock the needy, unlike the marble palaces down the street. The couple was so thrilled with the work of Delano that they hired him to design a country estate for them in Mount Kisco, which they would name Avalon. Unfortunately, just as Avalon was finished and servants were preparing it for the Brewsters' first visit, the house burned to the ground. The flames engulfed the entire estate, including antiques and tapestries that had cost the modern-day equivalent of nearly $10 million. But the material things were not what Robert cared for. He was a major advocate of the arts. After the stock market crash, the Metropolitan Opera Association was at risk of shutting its doors. He led a campaign to save it, making a rare public appearance to raise funding. He purchased box number 4 for $200,000, or the modern-day equivalent of nearly $4.5 million, and convinced others who were secure in their wealth to do the same to save the institution. He was named the director and president of the Metropolitan Opera and Real Estate Association and could not avoid the public eye. Suddenly, the city wanted to know who this man was and where he came from. Word spread about his anonymous lifelong devotion to charity, and he was quoted as saying, "The advantages of obscurity are not half appreciated." On Christmas Eve, 1939, cancer overcame Robert and he passed away. Only in his obituary did the public learn the true scope of his charitable works, as he never admitted to helping so many while he was still alive, only humbly acknowledging what reporters had claimed about him. Their children sold the mansion, it was demolished, and by 1948, an 18-story apartment building had been built in its place. Thank you all for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House. Make sure to check out our merch shop and grab yourself a This House logo branded t-shirt, perfect for the summer. I would also like to take a moment to say thank you to our This House supporters, whose names you can see on screen right now. If you would like to see your name on this screen, please join our membership program today. I'll see you next time on This House.